Introverts are often thought to be the same as shy people. Some online dictionaries even use the word shy in order to define an introvert, like this one and this one. Being an introvert and being shy seem the same because both have minimal social interaction, but the similarities end there. An introvert enjoys being alone, while a shy person doesn't necessarily want to be alone, but is afraid to interact with people. In psychology, to put it simply, introverts tend to spend time alone deep in their thoughts and feelings. Typically, they are perceived as someone who is withdrawn, reserved, and quiet. In anime, manga, webtoons, and other popular media, this personality trait is usually portrayed in extremes though, but I'm not complaining because that's what makes these guys more interesting and entertaining. But in Omniscient Reader, we have an example of an introvert who is very close to a realistic one, and I'm talking about the main character himself, Kim Dokja. And he has been showing signs since episode 1. Of course, he is far from being a shy person. He would not have been able to do his work or go to job interviews if he couldn't even introduce himself. So, talking with people in general, even if they are complete strangers, doesn't trouble him at all. It's a different case if it's someone he knows, much more if that someone shows up unexpected. While he was immersed in reading a new fantasy novel on his phone, he didn't notice Yoo Sangah standing right in front of him until she talked. This is a well-known sign of an actual introvert. They are busy in their little world that they are not that aware about what's going on in their surroundings much. It's not easy for us readers to notice when Dokja has been daydreaming, since we know what Dokja is thinking. But to the other characters in his universe, he looks like he has spaced out all of a sudden. They need to repeat his name and other ways to call his attention in order for him to go back to reality. It is sometimes dangerous when he's lost in his thoughts though, because he doesn't notice the danger around him, needing someone to look out for him and rescue him. He's also so quiet that even constellations sometimes are like dying from curiosity just to know what he's thinking. Well, he is generous to say what he is thinking if asked, and that made Prisoner of the Golden Headband satisfied. Well, he doesn't say what he is thinking all the time, of course, especially if it's something he needs to keep as a secret. So, when Junghyuk notices Dokja staring at him all of a sudden and asks if he wants to say something, he gives a sarcastic response. Well, he's not always bold like that. Like when he suddenly encounters Sangah back at the subway, although he managed to greet her as like an automatic response when he meets an acquaintance, look at his expression. He looks surprised and uncomfortable that he wouldn't have immediately thought of what else to say after that little hello. Thankfully, Sangah asked him a question, giving themselves a topic. In that situation, usually, guys would offer their seat to a lady friend, especially if they find that lady attractive. If not their seat, and there's a vacant seat next to them, they would notice and offer that to the lady. But Dokja? Nope. It's not that he's no gentleman. It's more like he was too distracted. So, it was Sangah who noticed the vacant seat. I'm pretty sure Dokja didn't even realize that the seat beside him had become vacant until she sat beside him. Look at his nervous face when she sits next to him. His face looked like he's saying, "What is she doing here? Did I just talk to her? What do I do?" And other similar thoughts. He has been going to and from work via subway for quite a while already, but it was his first time to encounter the most popular girl at the company on his way home. So he can't help but ask her if she normally takes the subway home. This shows that he doesn't really have a problem talking with her, especially if it's something he wants to or needs to, like satisfying his curiosity. Speaking of curiosity, he shows interest when someone he doesn't hate speaks, like when Sangah suddenly said a Spanish phrase out loud. He naturally asks her more about it, making her talk more so that he could listen to her more. But things got awkward for him when the attention was shifted to him. As an introvert, it's not that he absolutely hates being the center of attention. It usually depends on what kind of attention he's becoming the focus on. One of those he doesn't like is talking about the hobby he's not really proud of. Although TWSA is something very special to him, he got criticized when he tried to recommend it to others. It's going to be worse for people totally not familiar with such a novel, because if he starts talking about TWSA to someone not into serialized fantasy novels, it will make him feel bad if the person he's conversing with is not really interested. He somewhat got confirmation about Sangah very likely not to know about his favorite author when she mentioned the names of the authors she liked. He became even more determined to hide his phone from her. But to those who read fantasy novels like him, he managed to have discussions with them that he couldn't do with the others. With these guys, he just claims that he's keeping them around because they are useful. But deep inside, he is enjoying his conversations with them, especially the times when he gets to brag that he is the only one who managed to read TWSA till the end. He enjoys it more with Hyunsung. Being the only other reader who had read the most episodes other than him, she is the one who can relate to him on TWSA the most. He won't admit it, but as early as this arc, he felt like he finally found his best friend, someone with many common interests with him. Introverts tend to be more talkative and expressive towards those kind of people. As an introvert, if he has to initiate a conversation, small talk is not a common topic he would think about. So, he will tend to talk about the things he likes. With that, he could actually also talk about his interests to someone not really into fantasy novels, provided that it's to someone close to him in some way. There are already hints about who that person is in the webtoon, but I cannot say more or else it will be too spoilery. Anyway, a problem that many introverts face is self-deprecation. Kim Dokja has shown a lot of signs of that, even on as early as episode 1. In case you haven't noticed yet, in his thoughts while talking with Sangah, he kept on comparing himself to her, always mentioning that she is very cool and hardworking, to the point that he thinks she is definitely going to be the heroine if they were in a novel, unlike him. He is not exactly jealous of her though. In fact, he's happy for her and thinks she deserves it. He admits that he couldn't ask for the same blessings since he didn't work hard like her. Even when she had offered to assist him in improving himself, he rejects the offer as he thinks it's pointless. It's similar to when he has realized that she's actually quite attractive after seeing her up close. He quickly tells himself that it doesn't concern him. I think he said that because in his opinion, there's no way he's going to have a chance with her, even if he starts having feelings for her, because they live in different worlds. He devalues himself so much that although he doesn't want to die, he has this tendency to sacrifice himself for the sake of the people he cares about. Actually, he wouldn't even mind fighting for those who don't know him. It may be pretty heroic of him, and he might only be doing it recently for the karma points, but his sacrifices are gonna multiply. Moreover, it's not going to be limited to physical safety. He also belittles his mental and emotional struggles. He keeps his problems to himself, and he considers his trauma as something petty. Fortunately, he had Sooyoung by his side when he encountered the high school bully, telling him that there's no such thing as a little trauma. But since he's very broken, unfortunately, his self-deprecating is not going to end there. My God, I think there's so much about Dokja's self-deprecation that I might need to create a separate video for it. Anyway, Dokja is an example of an introvert who may be lonely but can function fine in society. Because of his experiences, he is a bit broken, but he managed to hold on thanks to his beloved TWSA. I suppose you have heard of other stories on how someone's life was saved or became bearable at least because of something that's close to their heart. Aside from Dokja, there are a number of other characters in Omniscient Reader who show signs of introversion. There's Yoo Junghyok, Gilyeong, Hyunsung, and Jihye, to name a few. An example of an ORV character who is really in the extremes though is Donghoon. Like Dokja had said himself, this poor teenager has social anxiety. Unlike introversion, which is a personality trait, social anxiety disorder or social phobia makes a person have trouble functioning in society. We don't know why Donghoon ended up like that, but since he has the title Hermit King of the Shadows, he must have been like a hikikomori in Japan. That term is often translated in English as social withdrawal or social isolation. So on Donghoon's case, he most likely didn't go to school and spent most of his time in front of the computer. He's like a modern hermit. Like what Donghoon had shown, he finds it difficult to interact with people physically. It's not that he absolutely can't though, but his struggles are obvious. His condition was even worse when he got hypnotized, making Dokja concerned. People like Donghoon need help. You don't necessarily have to help such a person like Kim Dokja did on this scene though. You might give them a heart attack. So, if you want to give them an antidote, medicine, then it's better to do it normally. Anyway, Dokja had shown a nice method of reaching out to such people, and that is by communicating with them on a manner they are comfortable with. Little by little, they learn to open up. Maybe even develop and gain friends on their own too. Like what was said at the beginning of the video, it's awesome that this series had portrayed introverted characters in a realistic way. They felt real, and none of them are really the same as the stereotypical introverts. Well, at least to me. Although I find topics related to psychology very interesting, I'm not an expert, okay? I'm a bit confident about understanding introverts though, since I'm an introvert myself. Anyway, I hope this video had helped you appreciate the impressive depiction of introverts in ORV. What are your thoughts about the portrayal of our introverted ORV characters? Let me know in the comments. If you want more ORV content, then I suggest that you click the subscribe button. And as always, likes and shares would also be highly appreciated. See you in the next video. Bye!